All right, Alexandria Vaughn and Zachary Kiyoshi. I think they're both here. Good morning to all of you. Good morning, Ms. Looney. Ms. Fellows again.
Good morning.
We're here on two issues, I believe. One is to check in on how the supervised visits are going and just how the contact is going in general. And second is to discuss child support, and Ms. Looney, I think, will address that. Let's first go to how the visits are going. Let me hear from Mr. Kiyoshi first, and then Ms. Vaughn, and then Ms. Fellows.
They've been, can you hear me, Your Honor?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. They've been going good. It's been 5 visits. We weren't able to make 2 because of that trip to Colorado, and then he was sick the week after. So I've seen them. I've got mine, and I did ask them to write the notes on these visits because I would like them. I don't know. I wanted to turn them in. I just wasn't enough time for the hearing. So I have the notes on those, but other than that, the visits have been going great. Other than the 2 that were not able to happen.
Okay, let's just leave it at that. I want to just kind of do a roundtable and hear from everybody. Ms. Vaughn, what's your impression of how the visits are going?
So from what they've said, the in-persons have been going pretty well, except they have been giving me a lot of reports that my son's not eating well and they're not practicing potty training with him, which at home he is potty trained. So that's kind of a concern and a setback for his age. As far as the in-persons go, we did miss 2 of them, one because we were in Colorado, which was excused, and then the next he ended up coming down hand, foot, and mouth. As far as the phone visits, though, the first 2 weeks after our last hearing went really well. They were pretty good. And then he did not make the call the next week, the 3rd week. And then there's been 3 since then. And those last 3 have not been as good as they've been in the past. So, for example, last week when he called, he asked to call at 5 instead of 6 because he had group. And I said, okay, that's fine. But then the whole 20 minutes that he called, he was filling out paperwork.
All right, Ms. Fellows, any comment on how things are going?
No comment, Your Honor.
Do you have supervised visits now once a week, Mr. Kiyoshi?
I do, Your Honor.
And that's at parents' place?
Yes.
And you live in the Olympia area, is that right?
I do, Your Honor.
Is there another day of the week you'd be able to come down for a visit?
It'd be my weekends, which are Tuesday, Wednesday, and that's when the phone visits go. But other than that, I work 5 days out of the week. So.
And when is your supervised visit now? Is that on a Tuesday?
Tuesdays.
And so your next day off is just the next day, Wednesday?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, I do know that Mr. Kiyoshi was scheduled to do a DV evaluation. I believe it was on March 15th. I haven't gotten confirmation that he has done it. I did email Mr. Kiyoshi last week to ask whether or not he had done it. Also, he has not paid his fees in full for the GAL fees. I sent out the email last Thursday and I have not heard back from him. So that was one of the big things that we were kind of waiting for also was the DV evaluation.
Mr. Kiyoshi, any update on that?
Yes, I did do it on the 15th. I have the letter, the appointment letter, which I thought I emailed the picture to Beth Fellows. If you didn't get it, I'll email it again. And they did tell me that because it's a collateral that they would get in contact with Alexandria to talk to her before they started the processing everything. And then it would take 30 to 40 days after talking to her to process everything and then get back to me. And I was waiting for a call from them. So there's not much I can do there.
How long is your supervised visit on Tuesdays?
2 hours.
Okay. I would like to give Mr. Kiyoshi more time with his son. And given the driving situation and the time, I think the best we can do at this point is expand the time from 2 to 3 hours. But I wanted some weigh in. Ms. Vaughn, does that create any problems for you if we do that?
A little bit. So I believe they only allow visitation on Tuesdays to be between 10 or not 10, 11 and 1 is what we do now. So that's the 2 hours, but I think they're only open 10 to 1, if I'm not mistaken. And I typically have my weekly therapy appointment from 9 to 10. So it would be, and my son doesn't wake up till 10:30 at like the earliest. So it kind of
All right, I don't want to interfere with that. I was hoping maybe we could go
later.
It's 3
Yeah.
hours, 11
Because I'd be okay with going later, but they had told me that the latest they would ever go is 1:30, and that was only in special situations.
I believe that they do parenting classes and things like that. So that's probably what part of their scheduling issue is.
Okay.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Yeah, please.
So, so I understand that we are waiting for the DV assessment to get back to see if I can get the unsupervised or where we go from there. So I mean, if it's not going to work for mom and the parenting place, I'm okay with the 2 hours on Tuesdays. I'm hoping they get this done in the DV assessment process in the next week or so I can just move on to my unsupervised visitations.
Well, and I think you're reading my mind well, which is I'm not going to consider unsupervised until I get that evaluation.
Yes, Your Honor.
But we're probably going to have to go a month out. If let's say they get you the report in 2 weeks, that will need to be provided to Ms. Fellows and Ms. Vaughn to the court for everybody's consideration. So I think we're looking at probably 3 to 4 weeks out that we have to go. Yeah, I think I want to go 4 weeks out. So let's come back on May 10th. The DV evaluation is in. And we'll look at what that indicates and whether we can consider unsupervised visits at that time based on that report.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so now we need to go to child support and Ms. Looney.
Thank you, Your Honor. On this case, the state's interest is only as to the medical coverage for the child. We did provide some proposed child support worksheets simply because by the time we filed them, we hadn't received any income information from either parent. I did check this morning on Odyssey. I did not see any information from Mr. Kiyoshi, but we did receive information from Ms. Vaughn. So we feel that the court would have those to consider. So we wouldn't have a direct interest in the amount of support. We just want to ensure that we have as accurate an order as possible for the percentages for uninsured medical and daycare expenses. And we would be willing to draft that order based on Your Honor's ruling today.
What are you requesting then in terms of a support payment?
According to the information that we had, Your Honor, we used the employment security data that was available for Mr. Kiyoshi for Q4 of 2022. And so based on that, we also imputed Ms. Vaughn at her current wage at full time. So we had a net income for Mr. Kiyoshi of $3,005 and a net income for Ms. Vaughn of $2,323. And the resulting standard payment would be $557. So that's what we had based on the information available to the state. We're just not not sure if either parent has different information that Your Honor would prefer to consider as well.
Okay. So, Mr. Kiyoshi, if you have seen the worksheets, your income based on what the state has is $3,491 a month. And then Ms. Vaughn is imputed at $2,642 a month. That results in a payment that would be made to the Department of Child Support of $557 each month. Do you have a comment on that?
Yes. So those are so I just got on to DOC. Those are not, I am making more now, and I have no problem paying to support my son. So if I need to get information in on that, I would do that. She also is now working part-time, which I would like to say she chooses to do. She's got a college education. She can work 40 hours a week if I can work 40 hours a week. And when I get it, it's this whole custody thing that we're going through that's kind of impeding us moving forward with that. But those numbers are not correct, if that was your question.
Okay. Ms. Vaughn, you were wanted to say something.
Yes. So I did file my financial declaration as you had asked us to do when you set this hearing. I gave it to them like 2 days after they had mailed me the worksheet they proposed, and the proposal that they made is actually way off. So I do only work 23 hours a week, and that's not by choice. That's the only time I have adequate childcare for our son. And I am paying for that. I'm paying $200 a month for that alone. So that's not taken into consideration in their proposal either. I would have loved to be able to make a proposal that actually fits his income and my income. As he just told you, he's making more than what they wrote, which was my concern since he had started the middle of Q4 working and it wasn't a full quarter to count for. But I couldn't do that without having his financial declaration and sealed financial documents to be able to make one that is more suited to our situation. It's not by choice that I'm only working 23 hours. My sister works full time and she's who watches my son for me to work. So I have to work around her schedule. And of course, his visitation and appointments. So it's not that I can work any more than I already am.
Ms. Looney, it sounds like both parties feel there's additional information they'd like to provide to you to consider. So why don't we put the child support over also to May 10th. And then Mr. Kiyoshi, I think you need to provide updated information.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, unfortunately, the state is unavailable on May 10th. So if we address child support, can we set that out to the 17th?
All right, we'll have to then have 2 hearings in a row, unless
I'm not sure if the parties would be willing to set both
unless we
matters
move
over.
both hearings. All right, I think just as a matter of judicial economy, that makes sense. So the review on the visits will also be on May 17th now, and the child support will be on May 17th. And both Mr. Kiyoshi and Ms. Vaughn should get to Ms. Looney as soon as you can the updated information that you want her to consider. Okay.
Your Honor, I served her my financial declaration with my pay stubs updated on the 31st of March.
We
And I
did have
filed
those,
them
Your Honor.
before.
That was the information I indicated we had received. It was just, we didn't have anything for Mr. Kiyoshi to be able to verify what his current income was. We were just basing it off the information available to us through employment security data.
Okay. You may want to provide April's wage statement to Ms. Looney at some point. Okay. All right. So let me go around. Mr. Kiyoshi, any questions at this point?
No, Your Honor. So from my understanding, alternative counseling has not contact Miss Alexander yet, right? No. Okay. And then Miss Looney, I understand you probably sent me paperwork. I got to go through it again, but is there a number I can contact you?
Yes, you can call our office.
Yep.
It's 360
Yes, ma'am.
577 3074.
Thank you.
Mhm.
That's all, Your Honor. Thank you.
Ms. Vaughn, any questions?
I had questions regarding his substance treatment. So at our last hearing, he had switched from weekly groups to monthly groups. And we had discussed him turning in his 2 weekly AANA slips to Miss Fellows so we could make sure that he was being consistent with the history of inconsistency. And as far as I have been made aware, he hasn't turned any into Miss Fellows. And so we really don't know if what he did for substance treatment all of March to now.
All right, I think Ms. Fellows is going to be tracking that. Mr. Kiyoshi, you look like you want to say something, so I'll let you.
Yes, Your Honor. From my understanding, Ms. Beth Fellows actually calls into Northwest Resources to get my updates. There was some time gap from the weeklies to the monthlies, but the counselors were tracking on that, and it was because they were waiting on the UA from me to come in with the readings, and it was negative, and that's when they were able to put me into the monthlies. And I'm up to date with my AA meetings, monthlies. I got 2 more monthly meetings before treatment's done, and she can call my counselor now, and he can verify all that, which she has been doing.
Okay, it sounds like we're going to need to just verify all that also on May 17th. Okay. And
yes, Your Honor, that I have talked to his new counselor since he has gone to monthlies. I talked to him last week, and he did say that the father was scheduled for the first monthly, and he had very strict guidelines on providing the AANA slips, and that he would let Mr. Kiyoshi know. And I will be following up with that, and we'll definitely have updated information for the hearing on May 17th. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you back here on May 17th then, and go forward at that point. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.